Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Reads, where we offer you 5 book recommendations all in one show. My name is Devon. I'm a librarian at the Worcester Public Library, just like my co-host Joy. How are you doing today, Joy?
I'm doing just fine, and how are you?
I'm actually in the middle of a really great book, and I can't wait to tell
Oh,
you about it.
you're going to tell us about it today?
Probably next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll wait with bated breath.
All right. So if you haven't seen our show before, most of the stuff we're talking about you can get online through Overdrive or Libby on your phone or device. You can also use Overdrive in your browser, on your laptop or desktop to access the books. We also have curbside pickup, or it's not curbside, you can come in the lobby now, but you can get the physical print items as well. So right now I'm going to share the screen so you can see the books that we have in store for you today. All right, so this is our lineup. As usual, Joy's going to do the nonfiction, I will do the fiction, and it is Graphic Novels and Library Month, so we both chose a graphic novel to talk about. And of course, we have our Coming Soon title, which is always exciting. For my first choice, I have a thriller. It's called 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson, and this came out pretty recently in March. It's being called a chilling tale of psychological suspense. So years ago, mystery reader Malcolm made a list of the genre's most unsolvable murders, ones that are almost impossible to crack. He named the list 8 Perfect Murders, which included books like Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train, A.A. Milne's Red House Mystery, James M. Cain's Double Indemnity, and Donna Tartt's A Secret History. But no one is more surprised than Malcolm, now the owner of a bookstore in Boston, when an FBI agent comes knocking on his door. She's looking for information about a series of unsolved murders that look eerily similar to the killings on Malcolm's list. And the agent isn't the only one interested in the bookseller. The killer is out there, watching his every move, a threat who knows too much about Malcolm, even the secrets he's never told anyone, including his deceased wife. To protect himself, Malcolm begins looking into possible suspects and sees a killer in every one. So just a little warning, all of the 8 books on the main character's list, The Perfect Murders, there are spoilers for those 8 books in this book. So if you haven't read the 8 titles, that might be something you want to think about. But this book also has a bookstore cat in it named Nero, so the bookstore cat might make up for the spoilers. This book got a ton of great reviews. Booklist gave it a starred review and said it's a devilish premise with a jaw-dropping execution. Mystery fans will be salivating as the plot unfolds, trying to outsmart the unreliable narrative. Swanson hits every note in this homage to the old-school crime novel, and the turnabout ending will leave readers reeling in delight. So this is really a book for all you mystery fans out there. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. It is super popular right now, so even though we have it in all these formats, there's a wait list for all of them. So if you do have a copy, make sure to get on the list as soon as you can. And here's a book from Joy.
I don't know, Debbie. What is it about cats, library cats? All librarians love cats, and we mention them any chance we get.
As often as we can.
Yep, we do. So my first choice is In the Wake of the Plague, The Black Death and the World It Made by Norman F. Cantor, which I have been reading in preparation for the library's Tales from a Pandemic book discussion to be held on Saturday, August 1st at 4 p.m. via Zoom. If the title of the program alone sounds interesting, and I don't know why it wouldn't considering our present circumstances, please go to our website, register, and join our panel of librarians in sharing your favorite pandemic reads on August 1st. Norman Cantor, who died in 2004, was professor of history and comparative literature at NYU. This book was first published in 2001, and a paperback edition came out in 2015. So let's get this over with. Cantor is not everybody's cup of tea. He's opinionated, he goes off on tangents, He makes wild assertions that make me want to run to Wikipedia and ask, really, can that possibly be true? Just a hint, cosmic dust. He devotes too much time on random detail. All that said, I couldn't stop reading this book. First, Cantor sets the scene by describing a 13th century Northern European world where near perfect weather created near perfect growing conditions, resulting in a population explosion and a great artistic, economic, and intellectual flowering. By the turn of the 14th century, however, climate change had begun to rear its ugly head, and in 1347, bubonic plague, perhaps accompanied by anthrax, struck, and within a span of 3 years, killed between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's population. Cantor incorporates many accounts of those who experienced the plague firsthand, including a particularly poignant story of the death of a 15-year-old English princess. But he does not dwell on the gruesome details that fired the imagination of Ingmar Bergman in his classic film, The Seventh Seal, or for that matter, of the creators of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I'm sure all of you have seen, and if you haven't, you should. Europeans, he said, combated the plague with the weapons they had at hand. They prayed hard, quarantined the sick, ran away if they could, and found a convenient scapegoat, no surprise, the Jews. Needless to say, some of these methods worked better than others. Cantor is primarily concerned, however, with what happened after the plague was over, leaving devastation, dislocation, and massive depopulation in its wake. Well, you might be surprised to learn that the after effects were not uniformly bad, at least from a socioeconomic point of view. The standard of living for working class folk rose as surviving laborers were able to command higher wages. The position of some women, at least, improved, as widows whose death rate was lower than that of men inherited land or moved into the businesses their deceased husbands left behind. Jews, persecuted in much of Europe, were welcomed in Poland, where they established a distinctive and vibrant culture that thrived for centuries. On the other hand, the prestige of the established church suffered, and in England, the Plantagenet kings never attained the level of stability and power that appeared to be theirs for the taking before the plague wreaked havoc on rich and poor alike. In the end, Cantor says, most of those fortunate enough to survive just got on with it. He cites Geoffrey Chaucer, who in his exuberant masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, written a mere 30 years after the plague, portrays, and I quote, a world that has been crippled by a disaster, but struggles successfully to resume the rhythm of its daily life. In the wake of COVID-19, we can only hope to do as well.
I would like to second Joy's invitation for you to join us at the Tales from a Pandemic panel talk, because I'm going to be there too, and we're going to be talking about a lot of fun books.
Vampires included.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
All right, so for my next choice, this is Excellence, Volume 1. It contains issues 1 through 6. The writer is Brandon Thomas, and the artist is Kari Randolph. This book came out in November of 2019, and it got an honorable mention in the Forbes.com list of the best graphic novels for that year. In this book, Spencer is the main character, and he's born into a world of magic. His father belongs to the Aegis, a secret society of black magicians ordered by their unseen masters to better the lives of others, those with higher potential, but they can never better their own lives. When it's time for Spencer to follow in his father's footsteps, all he sees is a broken system in need of someone with the wand and the will to change it. But in a fight for a better future, who will stand beside him? A a generational war begins in this Afrocentric action fantasy thriller series made entirely by creators of color. So I wanted to point out the artist style, which I think is really cool. There's a lot of action scenes, lots of fights, both physical and magical. So he uses colors in different ways and different shades to portray the action, which I thought was a really interesting and cool style choice. There's also swearing in this book. Just a heads up, you might not want to give it to your kids. So I wasn't really sure what to expect from this graphic novel, but what I discovered was a complex, action-packed tale with unique magic and a fluid timeline. The series is set in modern times, so I didn't expect one of the rules of the Aegis to be that females are not allowed to use magic. But what was most unexpected was that the people with higher potential that the society is sworn to protect, they're all white. And the head of the Aegis, who you never really see, is called the Overseer. And when Spencer challenges the Overseer calls him boy. This is a series I want to continue to follow, and since it's done completely by people of color, my hope, of course, is that the Overseer and the other parts of the Aegis that keep magic from women and restrict the male magicians to only helping white people will be overthrown. Okay, and here's one from Joy.
I think we can probably count on that, Devon.
I hope so.
I think we have an anti-racist comic in the making. Well, as Monty Python would say, and now for something completely different. Kid Gloves, 9 Months of Careful Chaos by Chicago-based cartoonist Lucy Knisley. Yes, as many of you have probably suspected upon seeing the title, this graphic novel is about pregnancy. In it, Knisley recounts her own journey from exploring various methods of contraception as a young woman to giving birth to her first child, a son, in 2015. Knisley's experience is sometimes harrowing. Her first pregnancy ends in miscarriage, which plunges her into a profound state of grief and shatters her confidence in the ability of her body to carry a baby to term. Her second pregnancy is accompanied by all the usual inconveniences and discomfort with which many women are all too familiar, until in the last days of her pregnancy, she develops eclampsia, and it nearly, no exaggeration, kills her. So why do I consider this book an uplifting read? Knisley, who believes that cartooning is the only career for which she is suited, focuses on the domestic sphere in most of her work. One reviewer describes her style as honest but sweet. While she excoriates the medical profession for 400 years of bad doctoring when it comes to women's health, she also lifts up more than a few heroes. She gently counsels respect for all women as they and their partners ponder the wide ranges of choices now available to them. Whether to bear children at all, and if fertility is an issue, whether to opt for adoption or IVF, whether to give birth in the hospital or at home, naturally or not, and whether to breastfeed or go straight to the bottle. She never loses sight of the fact that all fear, doubt, pain, and sentimentality aside, this business of making new life is wondrous. Most importantly, perhaps, she does a wonderful job of drawing her fat, dimpled, downy new baby boy she calls Pal. Sheer bliss. I'll finish by quoting the blurb on the book jacket. Whether you've got kids, want them, or want nothing to do with them, there's something in this graphic memoir to open your mind and heart.
I really like her illustration style too.
I do too. And by the way, she's written some children's graphic novels as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, well now it's time for our coming soon title. So this one is coming out on July 21st, which is a Tuesday, Trouble the Saints by Elia Dawn Johnson. It's being described as a combination between the dangerous magic of the night circus and the powerful historical exploration of the Underground Railroad, which sounds like an amazing combination. It's an alternate history set against the darkly glamorous backdrop of New York City at the dawn of World War II, where an assassin falls in love and tries to change her fate. Amid the whir of city life, this woman from Harlem is drawn into the glittering underworld of Manhattan, where she's hired to use her knives to strike fear amongst its most dangerous denizens. 10 years later, she's given up everything, not just her own past and the man she loved, but even her own dreams. Still, the ghosts from her past are always by her side, and history has appeared on her doorstep to threaten the people she loves. This book got a lot of great reviews, and Kirkus gave it a starred review. They said, "The author's secret history is a nuanced portrait of racism and all its poisonous flavors, brutally overt and unsuccessfully covert. With musical prose, this is a sad, lovely, and blood-soaked song of a book." Everything about this book sounds intriguing to me. The magic, the historical fiction aspect, and also the alternate history. I just think it has a lot of really interesting storylines in there. So if you're interested like me, keep an eye out for the 21st of July. I know we're going to get a print copy. Hopefully it will also appear on Overdrive and Libby. But that brings us to the end of our episode today. Don't forget that if there's a genre or a topic you're interested in and want a recommendation for, just put it in the comments below, and Joy and I will see what we can do. But otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you later, fellow readers.